Janine Lloyd, MD of Greater Than Johannesburg. Welcome to the Red Zone.
Thank you, Sabrina.
Now, Janine, you say that the main role of a PR consultant is to ensure that a company's CEO is able to handle any crisis.
Correct.
What are the steps and how do you make sure that this happens?
There's a couple of things, and the most important part really is the upfront planning. And I think a lot of organizations forget that you need to have policies and procedures in place. So in other words, the CEO needs to have got involved with what's going to happen in a crisis. So who's going to be contacted? If that person's not available, who's next going to be contacted? What do you do in a crisis? Do you have your channels set up? So I think that is one of the key areas where the CEO needs to get involved. The second aspect really is around scenario planning. And if you think about a CEO, his job really is problem solving. That's what he knows or she knows to do really well. So with scenario planning, typically what you do is you look at the potential crises that are likely to affect your company. And you assess it based on how much of an impact it's going to have on the reputation of the business should the crisis occur. And you plan around that so that you're not caught out with your pants down, which often happens. So I think those two aspects are absolutely critical. Then the third aspect is we need to make sure that the CEO is trained or has the skills to be able to handle media interviews, has the knowledge of how to handle the crisis, what not to say, what to say, and even to the point of what he needs or she needs to do in social media, and how far is their private life private. We all know it's not. So there's a lot of guidance that needs to be given to CEOs because we all know, and studies have proven it, that the reputation of a CEO and what he says or she says and does affects the reputation of the company.
So I reckon that these steps are the main role of a PR company when it comes to handling crisis communication.
Yes, definitely.
Do you have any good or bad examples of where you've seen this work well and work not so well in the past?
Yeah, absolutely. And there definitely are some rules to crisis communications. And one of the key rules is to be prompt and also to be honest and open, to express empathy. And to resolve the situation as soon as possible. And the recent, I don't know if you remember, the crisis that Woolworths faced when they took off the Christian magazines or made the decision to take off Christian magazines from their shelves, which created a huge uproar in the social media space, which then spiraled into the media exposure. And what was at the heart of this issue is that Woolworths was rationalising its publications. So there were some publications that were making money and selling and some that weren't. And that was the real story. But the CEO had given an interview to Die Bild and had actually said that it was not a policy of Woolworths to sell religious or political magazines. So this the company said was actually quoted out of context. But what actually happened from there was that the CEO wasn't available. So when media started verifying, I mean, Daily Maverick then got on the phone, and they're a very influential online publication. They got on the phone, and now the CEO wasn't available, he was travelling. Then the next in line spokesperson wasn't available for 3 days. And the PR company, well, their hands are tied, said, well, all we're going to do is give us your questions and we'll respond to you in the written form. Now, that is one of the areas that you just don't do that. That is just not good crisis management. Whether Woolies was caught unawares by the situation, whether people were really travelling, it doesn't really matter. You know, where we are in the virtual world today, you can connect on any phone, you can connect on Twitter, you can connect anywhere. So I think that's not an excuse. So from my perspective, that's an example of where you need the CEO or the spokesperson to really step up and be available to comment. The next thing Woolies did, which was really quite good, because I don't want to be sounding like I'm bashing Woolies, is the meat scandal crisis early this year in April. So Woolies really came out tops there, even though they were the least affected by the claims in the meat scandal. They came out, they spoke quickly, they conducted interviews, they had a food technologist really and scientists speaking about the quality. They empathized with consumers, saying that they know that trust and quality food is very important. Therefore, what they're going to do is commission a study to make sure that their food is up to scratch and quality, versus some of the other competitors that were in the scandal who just blamed suppliers or just kept quiet or sent their lawyers to speak to media. So there are. There's two sides to the coin, but Woolies did badly in the beginning. I think they learned from their mistakes, and they certainly turned it around.
Now, moving away from crisis communication and back onto PR as an umbrella sort of offering.
Sure.
Obviously, content is the most important thing any agency or any company can offer its clients.
Definitely.
What role does PR play when it comes to delivering content, and how do you ensure that this content remains relevant?
I think the most important thing is we mustn't forget as PR professionals that since we were born, and certainly those that have specialised in publicity, stories are the heart and the lifeblood of what we do. And that is not just the company's story, it's stories that are of interest to your target audiences and your stakeholders out there. And I think what a lot of companies do is they do content for content's sake. Okay, they don't necessarily always look at, well, who's my audience? You know, who is on Facebook for me? Who is reading the publications I need to go to? Or internally, who are my internal staff that are reading the newsletters or the videos or the intranet or whatever? So the content really has to be delivered according to the audience that you're going towards. And finding great stories, that's the biggest challenge, because, I mean, I've run many, many campaigns over my years where you really have to battle to get the good stories, but when you get them, they're a gem. So yeah, content is king, but it's got to be relevant, it's got to be interesting, it's got to have an entertainment value, it's certainly got to be informative and provide some value to the people that are reading it.
We look forward to see what's coming out of Greater Than Johannesburg in the near future. Thanks for joining us, Janine.
Thank you.